Soul of the Apostolate, Part 4, C5. He radiates kindness. A zeal that is not charitable, says St. Francis de Sales, comes from a charity that is not genuine. When a soul tastes, in prayer, the delights of one whom the Church calls an ocean of kindness, bonitatis oceanus, it will soon undergo a great transformation. Even if a man is naturally disposed to egotism and unkindness, all these defects will vanish little by little. If he nourishes his soul upon Him in whom appeared the goodness and kindness of God our Savior to the world, upon Him who is the image and adequate expression of the divine goodness, imago bonitatis silius, the apostle will share in the bounty of God and will feel the need to be, like God, diffusivus, spreading kindness. The more a soul is united to Christ, the more it shares in the dominant quality of the divine and human heart of the Redeemer, His kindness. In such a soul, forbearance, benevolence, compassion are all multiplied beyond belief, and His generosity and self-sacrifice may be carried to the limits of joyful and magnanimous immolation. Transfigured by divine love, the apostle will have no trouble in winning the sympathy of souls. In the goodness and readiness of his soul, he was pleasing. His words and acts will be full of kindness, a kindness that is completely disinterested and has nothing in common with that which is inspired by a desire for popularity or by subtle egoism. God, wrote Lacordaire, has willed that no good should be done to man except by loving him, and that insensibility should be forever incapable either of giving him light or inspiring him to virtue. And the fact that men take glory in resisting those who try to impose anything on them by force, they make it a point of honor to raise countless objections against the wisdom that aims at arguing everybody all the time around to its own point of view. But because there is no humiliation involved in allowing oneself to be disarmed by kindness, men are quite willing to yield to the attraction of its advances. The little sister of the poor, the little sister of the Assumption, the sister of charity, would be able to tell us of a host of conversions brought about without any arguing, merely by the power of a tireless and often heroic kindness. The unbeliever, in the presence of such self-sacrifice, exclaims, "God is there. I can see Him, and see that He is what He is called, the good God." He would have to be good if living with Him were to be enough to make so frail a creature as man trample his own self-love under his feet and silence his most legitimate repugnances. These angels of this earth fulfill the definition of Father Faber: kindness is the overflow of self on others. To be kind is to put others in one's place. Kindness has convinced more sinners than zeal, eloquence, or learning, and these three things have never converted anybody without kindness having something to do with it. In a word, kindness makes us as gods towards one another. It is the manifestation of this feeling in apostolic men, which draws sinners to them and brings them thus to their conversion. And he adds, everywhere kindness shows itself, the best pioneer of the precious blood. Without doubt, the fear of the Lord is frequently the beginning of that wisdom which we call conversion. But we must frighten men kindly, for otherwise fear will only make infidels. Have the heart of a mother, says St. Vincent Ferrer. Whether you have to encourage souls or scare them, show to them a heart full of tender charity, which is the compendium of all the virtues. Forgive me, I lost my place. I will restart. Have the heart of a mother, says St. Vincent Ferrer. Whether you have to encourage souls or scare them, show to them a heart full of tender charity. Begin by appealing to God with all your heart, asking Him to fill you with charity, which is the compendium of all the virtues, in order that by its means you may efficaciously attain the end you have in view. It is as far a call from natural kindness, which is nothing but the result of our temperament, to supernatural kindness in the soul of an apostle, as it is from man to God. The former may arouse a certain respect, even sympathy for the minister of Christ, and sometimes it can even divert an affection that belongs to God alone and direct it to His creature. But it will never induce any soul to stir itself up with a pure intention of pleasing God, to make the sacrifice that is necessary if it is to return to its Creator. Only the kindness that flows from a close friendship with Christ can achieve this result. An ardent love of Christ and a true flair for saving souls will give an apostle all the daring compatible with tact and prudence. Here is a story that was told us directly by an eminent layman. On the occasion of a conversation with Pius X, he chanced to let fall a few biting words against an enemy of the Church. "My son," said the Pope, "I do not approve of the way you talk. For your penance, listen to this story. A priest I used to know very well had just arrived in his first parish. He thought it his duty to visit every family, including Jews, Protestants, and even Freemasons. Then he announced from the pulpit that he would repeat the visits every year. His confreres got very excited at this and complained to the bishop, and the bishop in turn sent for the culprit and reprimanded him severely. "My lord," answered the priest modestly, "Jesus orders his pastors, in the gospel, to bring all his sheep into the fold, apportat illes adducere. How are we going to do that without going after them? Besides, I never compromise on principles, and I confine myself to expressing my interest and my charity toward all the souls entrusted to me by God, even the ones that have gone furthest astray. I have announced from the pulpit that I would make these visits. If you formally desire me to give them up, please be good enough to give me this prohibition in writing, so that everybody may know that I am simply obeying your words. Moved by the justice of this appeal, the bishop did not insist. And in any case, the future proved that the priest was right, because he had the happiness to convert a few of these strays and inspired all the others with a great respect for our holy religion. This humble parish priest, by the will of God, eventually became the Pope, who is now giving you this lesson in charity, my son. Therefore, cling firmly to principles through thick and thin, but let your charity go out to all men, even the worst enemies of the Church.